On my wedding day, my mother-in-law pulled me aside right before I walked down the aisle and whispered, "It's not too late to leave." He still has feelings for his ex. I looked her dead in the eye and said nothing. Later, when she gave her toast, she said, "Some women just force things." I quietly passed the mic to my maid of honor, who read the text that mother-in-law had sent my husband just 2 weeks before the wedding. I married Nick last Saturday. We've been together for 4 years, and honestly, we've had our share of rough patches, mostly because of his mother, Carol. She never liked me. She never even tried. From the very beginning, she acted polite to my face and cold behind my back. At first, I thought it was just me being sensitive. But then friends, and even Nick, started noticing. She'd make comments like, "She's so independent some men find that hard to live with," or "You two moved in pretty quickly, didn't you?" I brushed it off, thinking it would get better. It didn't. Over the years, Carol kept making me feel like I was just passing through. Like I was a placeholder until Nick came to his senses and ran back to his ex, Amanda. She mentioned Amanda constantly. Amanda loved camping. Amanda used to make that salad Nick liked. Amanda came from a very respectable family. Nick always brushed it off, said it didn't matter. He told me he loved me, that he was over Amanda, that Carol just had a hard time letting go. I believed him. When he proposed, I thought maybe we were finally moving past all that. I thought maybe, once we were married, Carol would finally have to accept it. But what happened on my wedding day? I never expected it to go that far. We were getting ready in the bridal suite at the venue in Larkspur, Colorado. It was this beautiful old farmhouse with mountain views. I'd just finished getting into my dress. My makeup artist was packing up, my friends were laughing, the photographer was snapping pictures. It should have been the happiest moment of my life. Then Carol walked in. She was wearing an off-white dress. Not beige. Not champagne. Off-white lace, fitted, like it could have been a second wedding dress. I knew what she was doing. Everyone knew what she was doing. But I didn't say anything. I smiled and said hello. She walked over, gave me this fake little smile, and said, "Can I speak to you alone for just a moment?" The room went quiet. I nodded. We stepped out into the hallway. She put her hand on my wrist and leaned in real close. I'll never forget what she said. "It's not too late to leave. He still has feelings for Amanda. I thought you should know." My stomach dropped. But I didn't show it. I just looked at her, right in the eye. No words. Nothing. I turned and walked back into the room. My dad was waiting at the door. I told him I was ready. And I was. The ceremony went on. I walked down the aisle like nothing happened. Nick looked nervous, but he smiled when he saw me. We said our vows. We kissed. We took our photos. Carol smiled in every single one like she was proud of herself for keeping her cool. She had no idea what was coming. At the reception, things seemed normal at first. Dinner, speeches, dancing. But I knew Carol couldn't leave it alone. She never could. When it came time for her toast, she stood up and clinked her glass. She looked at me with that same dead smile and said, "To my new daughter-in-law, some women just force things." That was it. No congratulations. No welcome to the family. Just that. The room fell silent. A couple people laughed uncomfortably, not sure what she meant. Others looked confused. Nick's jaw tightened, but he didn't say anything. I did. I stood up, walked over to the mic. I didn't even say anything. I just handed it to my maid of honor, Danny. We'd talked weeks ago. I told her if Carol did anything to ruin my day, we'd go through with the plan. Danny took the mic. She smiled like she was about to tell the funniest story in the world. But she didn't. She pulled out her phone. I was going to share some cute college stories about my name, but I think something else is more important. These are screenshots of texts sent by Carol to Nick, 2 weeks before the wedding. The room went silent. Danny started reading. "You don't have to go through with this. You know Amanda would still take you back. She's not the one. She's never been the one. Your father agrees. This whole thing feels rushed. You're not thinking clearly. There's still time to get out of this. My heart pounded. I didn't look at Carol. I didn't look at Nick. I just watched the guests, the gasps, the whispers, the disbelief. People started shifting in their seats. One of Nick's uncles stood up and said, "What the hell, Carol?" Carol's face went pale. She looked around like she couldn't believe this was happening. She tried to speak, but Danny cut her off. "There's more. She's manipulating you. I've seen the way she talks to you. Amanda was never like that. If you marry her, you'll regret it. You're not yourself around her. I miss the old you." Nick was frozen. He hadn't moved. His face was blank. I took the mic back. My hands were shaking, but my voice wasn't. I was going to pretend everything was fine. I was going to stay quiet. But I'm done staying quiet. Carol stood up, but someone, Nick's aunt, I think, put a hand on her arm and told her to sit. And she did. I looked at Nick. He still hadn't said anything. I couldn't read his face. That silence was worse than anything. But this story isn't over.
Nick didn't speak for a long time.
Everyone was watching him, waiting for a reaction.
I could feel my chest tightening.
Part of me thought he would defend her, that maybe he'd turn around and say I went too far. But finally he stood up. He didn't look at me. He didn't look at Carol. He just said, "I need a minute," and walked out of the reception hall. You could hear murmurs rising behind me. The music had stopped. The staff stood frozen near the buffet. My bridesmaids looked like they didn't know what to do. Carol stood too, like she was going to follow him. I moved fast. I stepped right in front of her, blocking her path. "You don't get to talk to him," I said, loud enough for half the room to hear. "Not until you answer for what you did." Her eyes narrowed. I was trying to protect him. "You wouldn't understand that." "From what? A happy marriage?" She opened her mouth, but then Nick's dad stood up across the room. I'd never seen him raise his voice before. The man was quiet to a fault, but he looked her dead in the eye and said, "Sit down, Carol. You've done enough." And she did. For the first time ever, she actually sat down without arguing. I walked outside and found Nick near the back garden. He was standing by the fountain, staring at his reflection. "You okay?" I asked, my voice quieter now. He turned. His eyes were red. "I didn't know she sent those," he said. "I mean, I saw the messages. I just didn't think you'd find out. I thought if I ignored her, she'd stop." I swallowed hard. She didn't stop. She tried to ruin our wedding. "And you let her?" He shook his head. I didn't reply to her. I didn't say anything back. I thought that was enough. Not saying anything is still saying something, Nick. He looked down. "I know." We stood there in silence. Finally, he said, "So what now?" I didn't answer him right away, because the truth was I didn't know. We went back inside, and I made it through the rest of the night. I danced with my dad. I cut the cake. But I couldn't forget what happened. I couldn't ignore it. The next day, Carol posted pictures from the wedding with captions like, "Sometimes the heart breaks in silence." Congratulations, I guess. People saw them. They started calling her out in the comments. She deleted them, but not before screenshots spread like wildfire through the family group chats. Nick confronted her the next day. He asked me not to come. I agreed. He came back hours later, furious. "She said you manipulated Danny," he told me. "She still thinks you planned this to make her look bad." I raised my eyebrows. She made herself look bad. Nick didn't argue, but then he said something that stuck with me. "She wants to meet.
Just the two of you."
She said she wants to clear the air. I stared at him. "You think that's a good idea?" He looked torn. "I don't know. But if we're going to move forward, she can't keep treating you like this." So, I said yes. But I wasn't going in blind. Because by then I had learned something else. Something bigger than a few texts. Carol had been talking to Amanda behind my back. And Amanda had receipts. I didn't tell Nick what I found out right away. I wanted to be sure. So, I reached out to Amanda myself. It wasn't hard. Carol still followed her on Instagram, and Amanda had liked one of Carol's photos from 2 months ago. A photo of Nick and I at our engagement dinner. I messaged her. Short and simple. Hey, I think we should talk. She replied 10 minutes later. We met at a coffee shop 2 days before I agreed to see Carol. Amanda showed up in joggers and no makeup, clearly not trying to impress anyone. She looked surprised to see me, but didn't seem nervous. Just tired. I figured you'd reach out, she said, sliding into the booth across from me. That set off alarm bells. How long have you and Carol been talking? I asked. Amanda sighed. Since right after you guys got engaged. She messaged me. Said she missed having me around. Said Nick was making a mistake. She continued. At first, I ignored it. But Carol's the type who doesn't go away. Eventually, I responded. We caught up, I guess. But then, she started asking me to help her. I leaned forward. Help her do what? Break you guys up. I sat back, gripping my coffee so hard I thought it might crack. Amanda pulled out her phone and scrolled for a minute. Then she showed me messages. If you just meet with him for lunch, I'll make sure he's there. Don't you miss him? This girl is pulling him away from who he really is. Say you miss him. That's all it'll take. And then the worst one. If this marriage happens, she wins. I won't let that happen. I stared at the screen, stunned. Amanda was quiet. She offered to pay me, she finally said. She said she'd help me get back on my feet if I did this one thing. Did you take it? I asked. Amanda looked at me straight. No. I didn't even meet with him. I told her to leave me out of it. But I figured you should know what she was capable of. I thanked her. I saved the screenshots she sent me. I didn't show them to Nick. Not yet. Instead, I waited for the meeting with Carol. We met at her house. Neutral ground, she said. She made tea like we were friends, like she hadn't tried to tear my life apart. I know things got a little tense, she began, but I think we can get past this. I stayed quiet, just like I did the first time she tried to rattle me. She went on about family and adjusting, and strong women sometimes clash. She said I should apologize for embarrassing her in front of everyone. That's when I pulled out my phone and slid it across the table. I had printed the texts from Amanda. Hard copy, stapled and dated. Carol went pale. You paid her to try and break us up, I said. You told her I was stealing your son. Carol opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Then she said, that was a mistake. No. A mistake is forgetting a birthday. This was sabotage. She tried to recover. You don't understand the bond one have with Nick. No, you don't understand boundaries. And now, everyone's going to see the kind of mother you really are. She looked scared now. Not of me, but of what people would think. I could show this to your church group, I said. To your little book club. The ladies who think you're this charming, classy, loving mom. She went quiet. You've got one chance, Carol. Back off. Or I won't just ruin your image. I'll make sure everyone sees you for who you are. She didn't answer me, but her silence said everything. After I left her house, I knew things could never go back to normal. I told Nick everything about Amanda, about the offer, the texts, the meeting. I even handed him the printed messages. He sat on the couch, flipping through the pages, his face hardening with every line. I don't even know who she is anymore, he muttered. You never really did, I said. He looked up at me, guilt all over his face. I should have stopped her. A long time ago. I didn't want to deal with it. That's the thing, Nick. You didn't want to deal with it, so I had to. We didn't talk much after that. Not for days. We just moved around the apartment like strangers. Then came the family fallout. People started talking. The screenshots from Amanda made their way into the extended family group chat. Carol's sisters called her out. Her own husband moved into the guest room. Her church friend, yes, the one who helped plan the bridal shower, sent me a message saying, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. Carol tried to play the victim. She posted on Facebook that people were twisting her words. She said she was being attacked for caring too much. But the damage was already done. The next Sunday, Nick and I were supposed to go to brunch with his parents. I told him I wasn't going.
He went anyway.
I think he needed to see it for himself. He came back quiet. She's different now, he said. She's angry at everyone. She blames me, you, Amanda, my dad, even Danny.
She's not different, I said.
She's just exposed. And then I dropped the final hammer. I want to go to therapy. Just me. For now.
He didn't argue.
He nodded. But I think we both knew what that meant. The next few months were a blur. I didn't move out. Not yet. I went to work. I went to therapy. Nick tried to make things right, cooking dinner, saying all the right things. But the damage was already deep. I had started to see it all clearly. Nick hadn't cheated, but he let his mother treat me like garbage for years. He stayed silent because it was easier, because pleasing her mattered more than protecting me. That's not love. That's weakness. One day, I came home and packed a bag. I left a note on the kitchen table. Nothing dramatic. Just the truth. I need to be with someone who fights for me, not someone who freezes when things get hard. I moved into a friend's guest room. 3 weeks later, I filed for an annulment. Technically, it was still early enough. Carol tried to call me, twice. I blocked her. Nick didn't fight me on it. He signed the papers without saying a word. Last I heard, he moved to Denver. Alone.
And Carol? Well,
she was politely asked to take a break from her church group after someone anonymously mailed copies of her messages to the head of the committee. Her book club canceled its meetings. Her reputation, the one she valued more than anything, was shredded. I didn't send the envelope myself, but I made sure it got sent.
So yeah.
I walked away from that marriage, but I didn't walk away quietly.